Gonna be honest, not the easiest experience I've ever had, but hopefully it's gonna be worth it. Can I kick things off by saying, how good does this car look? I'm obsessed. In my opinion, I think it's possibly one of the best looking sub £100,000 cars ever made. I've always been a fan of the 718 shape. I used to own a Cayman S, but what they've managed to do with this Spyder, I think is genius, because it kind of harks back to a golden era of Porsche, but also has elements of Carrera GT, 918 Spyder, whilst just being sort of compact and this spec also. Well done, Porsche UK. Fantastic spec. We're not here just to drool over this thing, we are here to drive it, and I want to tell you a little bit more about the performance, because quite an interesting car, this car. Theoretically, the third generation of the Boxster Spyder. However, it's no longer actually called a Boxster Spyder, it's just the 718 Spyder, but it is essentially the third generation. Generation 1, kind of out there on its own, a little bit different to a normal Boxster, but nothing that special. Generation 2, essentially ran alongside its hard-top, more aggressive brother, the GT4. They shared the engines, but not suspension parts, and the Boxster Spyder was a little bit detuned, and it was just sort of softer package all round. This car, as I mentioned when I picked it up from Porsche UK, is nearly identical to the new GT4, except the fact you can get rid of the roof. And, well, really, you should never have the roof on. It is a Spyder, and as you saw at the beginning, it's not the easiest thing to take up and take down. So when it comes to power, what are we dealing with? Well, this is where it gets a little bit strange. I think quite famously, 718 generation of the Boxster and the Cayman launched with that kind of fugly, turbocharged four-cylinder engine. It was really the only thing that held me back from really loving my Cayman S. Well, thankfully, that is gone, and we've got a 4-litre naturally aspirated flat six. But it's not the same 4-litre naturally aspirated flat six that you get in the GT3 and the 911 Speedster. No, it's the turbocharged 3.8 litre you find in most 911s without the turbochargers and bored out to 4 litres. Potentially a bit of a backwards process, but it means this car is good for around 420 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. It's mid-engined, it's got a manual gearbox, the same suspension as its big brother, the track-focused GT4, a bit more downforce, and of course, no roof. It should be amazing, so let's go find out if it is. Funnily enough, this is the exact same road that I filmed my living with a 718 Cayman S video on. I wanted to come back here to see if I could somehow sort of compare the two cars or really judge just how good this car is. Even though I filmed it a couple of years ago, I have a very good memory. So I'm trying to sort of, pick out points and go, well, how did that Cayman perform there, and what's this Boxster Spyder doing differently? Sorry, 718 Spyder. There we go. However, this road is full of cyclists today. It is so busy. So I've ducked down to a slightly bigger, wider road because I want to really get a chance to explore this car. Oh my God. Now look, a few negatives just to kind of get us started. I don't like starting with a negative, but I'm going to. Firstly, the gearbox. Now look, it's actually really nice to use. It's got a bit of a shorter throw, so maneuvering your way around the box, really nice. However, the gears are still too long. It was one of my big complaints with the GT4. You can theoretically do your entire mountain or hill or forest drive in second gear. It gets you all the way up to 80 miles an hour. You don't really need anything else. So that kind of removes some of the engagement for me. I end up sort of short shifting just so I can kind of, use the clutch and the gearbox. If you're going to have a manual gearbox, use it, right? Secondly, and I really don't want to get caught up on this because it's not exactly Porsche's fault, but of course, this being 2020, there's an OPF filter going on back there, which has kind of killed the sound of this car. We've taken this big leap away from that dreaded four-cylinder into a lovely, naturally aspirated engine, yet it sounds basically worse. And as I say, I know it's not Porsche's fault, but it does remove some of the emotional experience of this car. It looks so brilliant. I've got the roof down, I'm in a thoroughbred Porsche,
yeah, it's just a bit like, however, it gets good around 6,000 RPM, and in fact, that's when this car is really on song. It's not to say it's slow lower down in the rev range, but you do really want to rev it out, which again is the issue with those long gears. I'm always like chasing that sweet spot up at the top, which, you know, can be said also for the GT3, but you're banging through gears, I think, a little bit more often, at least from my memory. So yes, some frustrations there, but let's now talk about the positives, because it is a fantastic driver's car, this thing. As a pure driver's car, unbelievable. Bit of a tunnel for you. See, it doesn't sound bad, it just sounds flat. Just a bit flat. And right now, when we're not thrashing it, there's not a lot going on. Anyway, sorry, what was I going back to? Positives, yes. Must remember positives. It's basically the ultimate sports car. Forget the 911. With that new suspension, it just feels plugged into the road. The whole package is just snaky, it's sharp. It wants to go where you want to go. It's not fighting you in any way. And whilst I have had the traction light up quite a few times, letting me know that a little bit too much power going to the rear wheels, it's not scary in that sense. It's not snappy. Very picturesque village. I have a sort of habit at the moment of driving through very picturesque villages. I'm a fan of that. You get more and more out of this car. The more you drive it, the more you push it, the more you kind of get it up on its toes. Whilst it's very nice to cruise, which I think is an important component of Spyder life, this thing feels a lot more dialed in than the previous generations. I've only spent very little time. Actually, I've never driven Gen 1 Boxster Spyder, but I've been in one, and I have driven Gen 2. Great car, but a lot more about the south of France cruising with a great soundtrack. This, whew, honestly, I'm not having luck with the roads today. I was on the Tour de France route earlier, and now seems to be a lot of traffic here, so I'm going to take a bit of a gamble and turn off and see if I can find some corners to throw this thing around. I've got a sort of weird little SUV in front of me that's going to hold me up, but hopefully he'll disappear. But it's weird because the last few days, even though I haven't really spent much time in it, I was immediately a little disappointed by this car, a little disheartened. I think my expectations were so high. That last gen GT4 was so amazing that I thought, if there's now a Boxster Spyder which is sharing components as the new GT4, how great is that going to be? And I felt a little bit like, ugh. And out here today, I'm kind of running out of things to say. And I don't know, I'm sort of almost frustrated that that's the case. I'm actually just going to stop for a second because, let's face it, no one's clicked on this video to watch me drive at 20 miles an hour through a wooded area. So let's see if I can build up some space for myself. Auto start stop, what's the world coming to? Sports cars these days, hey? But yeah, I just feel a little bit disheartened. There's nothing wrong with the car, it's basically fantastic. And I kind of flip between really wanting one and thinking, oh, I'll just buy one, stick an aftermarket exhaust on it and it'll be amazing. And then also just being a bit like, is that a horrible thing to say? I don't know. Right, let's see, I've built up a bit of space. Let's crack on again. It is quick, boys and girls. Can't get away from that. Here we go, bit of a corner. And I've immediately caught up with the dodgy Kia SUV again. Oh, it's not my day. Right, let's find some different roads. This isn't going to plan, people.
I so wanted to love this car. I mean, once again, just look at it. I still want to love it. Why don't I? Just then I found some bigger, wider, open roads, and the harder you drive this thing, the better it gets. But for some reason, there's just something missing in my mind. It doesn't feel special. And okay, fine, Boxster Spyder or 718 Spyder hasn't always meant to be the most special Porsche, but the previous generation, did have something more than this car, a little bit more character or personality. I feel like almost the sort of added GT4 components for this car have made it too serious. You only really get a lot out of it when you're really pushing on, when you're really thrashing the thing. The rest of the time, it just left me feeling a bit cold. And yeah, that's a shame because, for Instagram, dreamy, and for something to look at on your driveway, amazing. And you're never gonna complain that it's not good, but I worry you'd get bored of it quite quickly. Oh, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you are contemplating a 718 Spyder, go and drive one. You might love it, but I do think you should also go and drive the previous generation. Firstly, you're going to save 20, 30 grand, but you might feel like that is enough and potentially even a bit better. If you have enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and make sure to stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.